I thought my life with Benjamin was a fairy tale. We met in college, two art history majors who fell in love over dusty books and shared dreams. After graduation, we got married. I poured every ounce of my being into building our life together. I gave up a promising curatorship opportunity to support his burgeoning career as an art dealer. Our home was my masterpiece, every corner curated with love, a perfect backdrop for the perfect life I thought we had. Benjamin traveled often for work, attending auctions and meeting with clients. I never questioned it. Why would I? I trusted him completely. Our world was him, his career, his happiness. My identity had become so intertwined with being Mrs. Benjamin Hayes that I didn't know where Tessa began and he ended. The first crack in my perfect world appeared subtly. It was a late-night text he quickly hid, a whispered phone call he took in another room. When I asked, he just smiled that disarming smile and said it was a demanding client. "You know how it is, my love. Anything for the business." And I believed him, pushing down the tiny gnawing doubt. I wanted to believe him. The alternative was too terrifying to even consider, but the cracks started to spread. There were credit card statements with charges for expensive dinners I never attended, hotel bills in cities he wasn't supposed to be in. He had an excuse for everything. The dinners were for clients. The hotels were last-minute business trip changes. His explanations were so smooth, so plausible, that I'd end up feeling guilty for even doubting him. He was a master at making me feel like I was the one who was crazy, that my insecurities were the problem, not his actions. Then came the bigger lies. He'd miss important dates, our anniversary, my birthday, blaming unforeseen work crisis. The distance between us grew, not just physically when he was away, but emotionally, even when he was sitting right next to me on the sofa. He was a ghost in our home, his mind always somewhere else. I tried to bridge the gap. I planned romantic getaways, cooked his favorite meals, wore the dresses he used to love. I did everything I could think of to bring back the man I fell in love with, but it was like trying to hold on to smoke. He was there, but he wasn't. I felt so alone, rattling around in the beautiful empty shell of a life I had so carefully constructed. My friends saw it. They gently asked if everything was okay, their eyes full of a pity I couldn't yet accept. I defend him, of course. I'd paint a picture of a devoted, hard-working husband, all while my own heart was breaking into a million tiny pieces. The day my world shattered started like any other. Benjamin was supposedly in Zurich for a major art auction. He'd called that morning, his voice full of faint excitement about a rare Monet. I was tidying up his home office, a space I rarely entered, when a courier arrived with a package for him. It was marked urgent and personal. Usually I just leave it on his desk, but something, a gut feeling I couldn't ignore, made me open it. Inside wasn't auction catalogs or business documents. It was a portfolio. But not of art. It was a professional photography portfolio of a woman. She was beautiful, and the photos were intimate, taking in what was clearly a home setting. As I flipped through the pages, my blood ran cold. In the background of one of the photos, on a mantelpiece, was a small, very distinctive sculpture. It was a one-of-a-kind piece I had given Benjamin for our 5th anniversary, but it wasn't on our mantelpiece. It was in her home. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the photos. I scrolled through them until I reached the last one. It was a candid shot of the woman and a man, laughing, their arms wrapped around each other. The man was Benjamin. He was wearing the sweater I bought him for Christmas. They looked so happy, so comfortable, so real. And in that single gut-wrenching moment, I knew. This wasn't a client. This wasn't a business trip. This was his other life. Zurich was a lie. The business trips, the late-night calls, the mysterious credit card charges, it all crashed down on me at once. He didn't just have an affair. He had a whole other life, a whole other home with another woman. The life I had built, the man I had built my world around, was a complete and utter fabrication. The perfect home I had curated was just a stage, and I was just an actress playing a part I didn't even know I had been cast in. Numbness gave way to a cold, hard rage. I went through his office with a terrifying clarity. I found a hidden folder on his laptop. It was filled with emails, photos, travel itineraries, not just with this one woman, but with others. A string of them, spanning years. It wasn't a mistake or a single lapse in judgment, it was a pattern, it was who he was a liar. A professional, pathological liar who had perfected the art of deception. The man I loved didn't exist. He was a character Benjamin had created to get what he wanted: a stable, respectable home life with a devoted wife, and a secret world of excitement and infidelity on the side. He wanted it all, and he didn't care who he destroyed to have it. I felt like such a fool. Every memory we shared was now tainted, every I love you, a poisoned arrow to my heart. I didn't confront him over the phone. I waited. I wanted to see his face when his carefully constructed world came tumbling down. 2 days later, he walked through the door, all smiles, holding a box of Swiss chocolates. "For my beautiful wife," he said, leaning in to kiss me. I stepped back. I held up the photograph. "Who is she, Benjamin?" The color drained from his face. For the first time since I'd known him, his charming mask slipped. He stammered, he tried to lie, but the evidence was undeniable, laid out on the coffee table. The photos, the printed emails, the credit card bills. His perfect script was gone, and he had no lines. The fight that followed was ugly. He tried to blame me, said I was suffocating him, but I was no longer the fun girl he married. He tried every manipulation tactic in his playbook. But I wasn't the same woman anymore. The naive, trusting Tessa was gone, burned away in the fire of his betrayal. I told him to get out. The days that followed were a blur of pain. Packing his things felt like packing up a decade of my life into cardboard boxes. Every object held a memory, now twisted and sharp. The house, my beautiful creation, felt haunted. But amidst the wreckage, a strange thing happened. As I cleared out his presence, I started to find my own. I took down the art he had chosen and hung up pieces that I loved. I rearranged the furniture to my own liking. I started to reclaim my space, and in doing so, I started to reclaim myself. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Some days, the grief was overwhelming. But with each passing day, I felt a little stronger. I reached out to the friends I had pushed away. I reconnected with my family. I even called the museum and asked about that curatorship. The position was filled, but they had another opening. It's been a year now. I sold the house. It held too many ghosts. I live in a smaller apartment in the city, filled with my own art, my own books, my own life. I have the job at the museum, and I love it. I'm surrounded by people who are passionate and real. I'm rediscovering the Tessa who got lost along the way, the one who loves modern art, enjoys quiet mornings with a good book, and doesn't need a man to feel complete. Building my world around Benjamin was my biggest mistake, but his lies, as devastating as they were, gave me an unexpected gift, the chance to build a new world, one that is entirely my own. It's not a fairy tale. It's real, it's messy, and it's mine. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel free. If you've ever felt lost in someone else's story, remember that you have the power to write your own ending. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.